Hello, I specialize in Baybayin. It is the pre-colonial writing of the Philippines. So today I'll be discussing not only Baybayin but how it relates to our culture, how it relates to our language, and a lot more. So just a brief background. So college, my background in college, I was a visual communication student, which is more on the advertising marketing side of arts. And I went solo after my friends and I had some falling out with our company, and I ended up as a designer in Japan. And as we all know, the Japanese have such a strong culture. They love their culture, they appreciate their culture, and this is what I experienced firsthand through my work as a graphic designer in Japan. And I was required to take up Japanese calligraphy, which is called shodo. So these are my sample, all of my practice sheets. And while I was doing that, I experienced firsthand how the Japanese love and respect their culture. So everything from the way they sat down, the way they prepared their materials, the way they breathed, the way they did the calligraphy itself. Everything was treated with love and respect. And while experiencing this, seeing this, I said to myself, why couldn't we do this with our own culture, with Filipino culture? So that's when I tried to experiment with the pre-colonial writing of the Philippines. These slides show some of my collections of the monks of the temples, wherein you can give a donation of 100 yen and they will do custom calligraphy. Each temple has their own different style, different design arts. So yeah, you could collect them. So all of this inspired me to go back to the Philippines and expand on my newfound knowledge of calligraphy and appreciation of own culture. So that's where CalligraFilipino started. So just a background or history of Baybayin itself, the writing. So some say that some characters of the Baybayin appear on the Angono petroglyphs, which are dated around 3000 BCE. These inscriptions show over 127 stylized human figures, frogs, etc. So, but some scholars say they see writings, so ba and na, stuff like that. Fast forward a little bit, we have an artifact called the Manunggul jar. It is a burial jar discovered in Palawan. It depicts, on top, it shows a boating person delivering the soul to the afterlife. And on the top, scholars say that these could also be seen as the characters themselves of the writing. Here. So, yeah, according to Dr. Bonifacio Comandante, you could see some characters there. Just to compare, the other so-called great civilizations, while they were thriving, while they were going on, Rome, Greece, they were around this time also around 800, 700 BCE. And if you compare it to the Manunggul jar, 890 BCE. So another example of the appearance of the writing is the Kalatagan pot, discovered around 1300 CE, or dated around 1300 CE. The Boxer Codex, although doesn't have anything to do with the Baybayin, this is a visual diary of the Spanish when they came to the Philippines. So this is how the pre-colonial Filipinos looked, how they dressed, how they appeared. So they were draped in silk, in gold. These are the, well, to the left, those are more of the upper class people. And to the far right, these are the warrior class, the pintados, as they call them. So as you win wars, you are gifted with more tattoos. So the more tattoos you have, the more wars you have won. So the first appearance of Baybayin in a foreign book is the Doctrina Christiana, which is the translation of the Bible in order to teach our ancestors in the pre-colonial times about Christianity. And according to Dr. Antonio de Morga, he's a Spanish soldier, lawyer, historian. His account of our ancestors, he said that the natives throughout the islands can write excellently with certain characters, almost like the Greek, Arabic. Almost all the natives, both men and women, write in this language, and there are very few who do not write it excellently and correctly. So we had a thriving civilization before another country came to our shores and said that they discovered us. My main takeaway is to be proud of what is ours, proud of our culture, our heritage, stuff like that. So the Philippines has 187 languages, and part of this, paired with the languages, of course, are the writings. So there are different types of writings in the Philippines, Kulitan in Kapampangan, Baybayin, mainly said to be for more the Tagalog language, Hanunuo in Mindoro, Buhid also in Mindoro. A lot of different types of scripts. Next would be my theories on how the Baybayin characters came to be. We have these two characters. First would be Ha and then Ka. Ha kind of looks, visually if you look at it, kind of looks like what would you do if you would depict like a gust of wind? What would the wind look like? And this relates to the Tagalog word for hangin, which means wind. Ha, hangin. And I believe this relates to someone who is breathing, because if you're breathing, you produce wind, which means you are breathing. So this also means that you have a spirit inside you. So hangin, the nature spirit, hinga, breathing, stuff like that. And to the right of that, visually, the Ka character kind of looks like two Has on top of each other. And if we've sort of established that Ha means someone who is breathing, someone who is alive, someone who has spirit inside of them, then Ka, connected, would be two spirits together, two spirits connected. And in the Tagalog language, how does this apply? So Ka, the prefix of connection between two spirits, two individuals. And this is proven by the language or the words of, kapatid, kapitbahay, kaibigan. So kapatid, sibling, it comes from the Ka, again, two spirits together. And then patid means to be cut from the same umbilical cord. So kapatid means your sibling. Kapitbahay, your neighbor. Kaibigan, your friend. Kaibigan, lover. Same spelling but different pronunciation. Ka also puts the self in the context of a collective. I think this is an unconscious or subconscious trait that Filipinos have, that we are all part of a community. That's why Filipinos are very, open, very community-oriented, very accepting. So all the words that use Ka are words that refer to like yourself, your another person, or the community. Ako means I, ikaw, you, kami, us. So all of these have the prefix of Ka. For the word Bathala, the pre-colonial deity or god of the pre-colonial Filipinos, Ba, visually, I think it might resemble the female reproductive organ. This is the character wherein babae comes from. Babae means woman in Tagalog. Same goes with La and lalaki for man, male in Tagalog. If we, again, a while ago, Ha, meaning spirit, and all of these characters appear in the word Bathala, the word for the almighty deity in pre-colonial Philippines. And if we all put them together, we have babae, woman, lalaki, man, and then the spirit. And then I think the T would be a combining letter, similar to at. At in Tagalog means and in English. Woman and the spirit of a man. My conclusion would be Bathala, the almighty creator, represents the combined spirit of a woman and a man. And this is sort of the explanation why pre-colonial Philippines had very high levels of egalitarianism in their society. Also proven by Dr. Antonio de Morga, wherein both men and women write in the same language. Also, past presidents, we didn't have any issue whether they were women. The babaylan, or spiritual and physical priests, healers, were mainly women. And also the gender neutrality of the Tagalog language, which is with the pronouns of siya, ako, ikaw, they are not gendered. And then When the Spanish came, of course, they tried to go away with the Baybayin writing system. So what I'm trying to do is try to use technology and art to preserve our culture, like how photography does that. As we have some beautiful photographs here depicting the Cordilleran culture. This is what I do, calligraphy and Filipino culture. So this is CalligraFilipino. It is a nationalistic art and design movement that is purely about aesthetics and art, and inspired by the traditional Filipino culture. What does it do? So just a sample of how it might look. We have this here. On the left is the sample composition, and on the right are the basic letters of it. So kape, just breaking it down and making it more aesthetically pleasing, stuff like that. And these are more complicated examples of the writing. So just forming it into traditional Filipino cultural elements like this is inspired by the kulintang, stuff like that. Other compositions, just using Filipino elements. And one of my biggest influences or inspirations is the Gold of Our Ancestors exhibit in the Ayala Museum. It shows incredible jewelry pieces that are made by our ancestors of the goldsmiths. And if you have the chance to go and see the exhibit, you can see that the intricacy, the detail are said to be, said to challenge even modern day goldsmiths. That level of precision, that level of workmanship came before its time. Some of my pieces that are inspired by this exhibit, like a hilt of a sword, the earrings, mainly just the intertwined sort of nature of the jewelry pieces. This one, inspired by Cordilleran weaving, so the colorful textile designs of the Cordilleras. Going to Mindanao, the okir, the architectural motif of the houses you can see in Maranao or Mindanao. Misari Manok. Kulintang, another depiction of Kulintang, the barasgong, agimat, the amulet, warrior shields, what is ours. What are other examples of baybayin in modern culture? Well, this is part of my exhibit. I encourage the exhibit goers to write their names in baybayin. It filled up an entire 5 foot by 6 foot canvas. At the end, it looked an art piece itself. I did a sort of a US tour wherein I promoted baybayin to Filipino Americans around the US. Here, San Francisco, Filipinos are big fans of basketball, especially the Warriors. So for the Filipino Heritage Night, I was invited to make baybayin name tag. They went around with, oh, this is my name in pre-colonial writing. And the San Francisco Giants, they also have a Filipino Heritage Night wherein I designed one of their merchandise. So it's a barong style with gigante as baybayin writing, which is giant. Well, it's Spanish, but no direct translation of Tagalog of giant. With the SB19, one of the biggest pop stars of our generation, we did a baybayin community event wherein they did the calligraphy, and the Filipino community, they added Filipino elements to the paintings. I also did a exhibit and went around doing this talk and workshop as well. This one is in the Philippine Embassy in Washington. This one is the New York Consulate for Google, and with the Iranian Embassy. With Google Philippines, this is the launch of the Baybayin keyboard, wherein you can type baybayin in your smartphones. For the government institutions, they also have some baybayin in their logos, such as the NCCA, the National Museum. They all use baybayin. In the money, we also have baybayin there. Signages, also sometimes they try to incorporate it. In the passport, every odd number page, you have baybayin written there. The Miss Universe Catriona Gray's national costume also had baybayin around. For modern young people, we have the Trece, which is a graphic novel turned into an animation. They also used baybayin all around it. Again, we have so much we can be proud of, build upon. So nowadays, K-pop, K-dramas, they are taking over Filipino youth, Filipino adults. But again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with appreciating other cultures, but we can have that same energy of uplifting other cultures. Maybe we can also have that towards our own. We have so much that we can, compete, we can be proud of. So mabuhay ating kultura, long live our culture. So that's it. And I guess I'll go into the workshop writing itself. So Baybayin is a 17 or 18 character alpha syllabary. It's not an alphabet. So what that means, the consonants are accompanied by a vowel, which is A by default. Have a consonant and then a vowel attached to it. So these are the characters themselves. By default, the vowel is an A, and if you want to change that to an E or an I, you put a dot on top. If you want to change it to an O or U, you put a dot below. And if you want to remove the vowel, you put a cross or an X below. The example here, we have ka. That's the character by default. If you want to write a ke or ki, you put a dot on top. If you want ko or ku, put a dot below. And if you want it just for a K, you put a X or cross below. And how do you spell Malaya? So again, we have our cheat sheets there. If you haven't memorized the characters themselves, just copy how the characters look. So Malaya meaning freedom, Malaya, just copy it there. And then implementing the rules, we have this word sibol, means to bloom. Using the first rule, si, we get the character sa and then put a dot on top, so it becomes a si, S-I. And then for bo, we take the ba here and then put a dot below, so it becomes bo. So ba becomes bo, put a dot below. And then for L, we take the la. To remove the A, put a X, so it becomes an L. So there, sibol. So some common mistakes. You should keep in mind that Baybayin is an alpha syllabary. Again, the consonant with a vowel. We are used to the Roman alphabet wherein the characters are written individually. And again, Baybayin is alpha syllabary. The characters are automatically with a vowel. Beginners usually are confused by this. So usually they see the character pa and then they sometimes assume that that's for the P. Just keep in mind that it's an alpha syllabary. The incorrect ones are here on the top, but the correct one is there below. A universal rule of Baybayin is to spell by pronunciation. So we have a word here, mag-isa. In Tagalog, it means to be by yourself, mag-isa. It's pronounced mag-isa. So the way we spell it is how we pronounce it. So again, mag-isa. So it's you stop at the mag and then e and then sa. So the incorrect way is to just spell it directly like magisa, but that's an entirely different word. So magisa means to saute, which is entirely different from mag-isa. So the correct way is to mag. So you stop there, put a cross, mag, and then start anew with an I and then SA. So you don't use a GI. Instead, use a G with a cross and then separate I and then SA. Universal rule again of Baybayin, spell by pronunciation. The name Maria, so it's pronounced ending with an YA. So that's how we spell it. So Maria with a YA. Because if we end with an A, the pronunciation of an A in Tagalog or Baybayin is A. So the incorrect way would be Maria. So the correct way would be end with a YA. So-called foreign characters, those that are not available in the Baybayin characters. So we have these don't appear in Baybayin. So C, J, F, Q, V, X, Z. So we just substitute them with the characters that sound near to them. So K would be like a hard C, or SA would be soft C, and so forth. So J, ja, F would be pa, Q, qua, V, ba, X could be ksa or sa, and then Z again, sa. How do we spell John? It again would be either DYA or DYO, whichever you want to use. John or John. So again, the lack of these characters, I think, which explains the so-called Filipino accent. So because we don't have an F, I love your Filipino accent. Can you say French fries again? French fries. Because again, I think it's ingrained in our minds that our ancestors didn't really pronounce F that much. That's why we sometimes Filipinos say French fries instead of French fries, fried chicken. Again, just a reminder. So these sort of words or pronunciation that don't appear in the Tagalog language or the Baybayin writing. So CH becomes TS. So we have sort of an example. Charlotte becomes Charlotte. Chocolate becomes chocolate. Chocolate. Or Tagalog, it's a Tagalog loan word. So SH sounds become SY. Sherwin becomes Sierwin. U sounds, OO sounds become U. Facebook becomes Facebook. So again, we don't have an F, so it becomes Facebook.
Taipan question.
Again, yes. Yes.
So, is it necessary for us to translate in Filipino before we bye-bye, or do we stick with how things are pronounced, as if any word is can be spelled in bye-bye?
Yeah, it's ideally, if there's a translation in Tagalog, you would translate it first. But if there's no translation, like for proper nouns, like for Facebook, we just spell it how we pronounce it. So, yeah. If there's a translation, we translate it. But if there's no translation, we just spell it. Yeah. So again, Facebook, because we don't have an F, substitute it with a P. And ace sounds with an EY. C with a soft C with an S, so pace, and then an U sound with a U, Facebook. Yeah, so there. If we want to start with the writing, the workshop, we could turn to our worksheets. So the first page, we have like the cheat sheet, so everything, all the rules are there. The substitution of lacking letters, and then the modification of the vowels, and then the characters themselves. So basically, what I did with the characters, so the first few numbers are sort of the easier bunch. And then the last one would be the more complicated, more challenging ones. Ano to, class? Search? Nakita ba sa likod? I will try to do an impromptu on the spot calligraphy. Actually, there's no rule whether we should write it left to right or up or down, and I prefer to write it up or down because I think it's more flexible, just purely from an artist standpoint. What I do with calligraphy is, instead of using the X, which is to remove the vowel, I use two dots, two kudlits, because it's more aesthetically pleasing. Because an X doesn't really go with like an artistic style because it looks out of place. So that's what I do. I use a double dot. So what I try to do with calligraphy is to sort of have it like a tapered top and bottom. So I usually start with a sort of a head and then the tail. So with the last character, I try to sort of extend it. So the line here, I try to extend it, and then the top usually kind of like tapered up top. So the composition kind of looks, you know, more compact, more aesthetically pleasing. The TU here would be this, and then K. And then L. And then S. So they're just really kind of stylized. For example, like for the K, I combined like an angled line instead of like a purely wave-like line for this sort of here. And then with the S, again, I extended it just so the composition would be either balanced or kind of looks better. Ulitin natin.
Sir Taipan, pwede bang paki-focus lang doon sa camera nung last na gawa nyo?
Ay, ito.
Ayan. So this is ako.
Ako ang anak ng Diyos.
Ako ang anak ng Diyos. I am a child of God.
Ako ay anak ng Diyos.
I am a child of God. So there you go, everyone. Let's give it a round of applause for Mr. Taipan Lucero.
Thank you.
So Sir Taipan, we're not a top audience. The silence in the